Now we're going to bring in Tamara Shoemaker, who we've had on the show every month for a number of years now. Tamara is the Michigan founder of Cyber Patriot program. I'll let her explain that. And then her and her husband have just recently published a manual for teachers who want to teach cybersecurity skills to their grade school students. Take it away, Tamara. Explain what those two things I just said and how folks can learn more.
Sure. So the Michigan Cyber Patriot program, I've been doing that for 9 years now. And I've been trying to get more people into the pipeline, right? More kids involved in STEM education and starting to map out their career path. And it's a really wonderful competition. It's a national competition. It's all online. So there's very little uptake as far as, you don't have to do any bake sales or any kind of craziness as far as making a lot of money. It's $225 for a open division team, a regular high school, Boy Scouts, church group, any of those kind of guys. If they put together a team of up to 6 folks, it would cost $225 for the whole season. If you do it as a middle school, it's $175. So that's your costs. Everything is virtual until you go to the actual nationals, which is in March every year. And so it's been a really great tool to be able to get teachers and kids both excited about cyber careers. And then, of course, we want to try to, go beyond that and actually help them get that pathway, all lined up so that they can see themselves there. So we also run some summer camps. And in those summer camps, I reach out to mentors in the industry and have them teach those classes to them so that these kids can see that pathway. They can see themselves in the job. And so it's a real nice combination of things that's easy for us to implement. And so I've been going across the state of Michigan and down even into Ohio and Indiana. Sorry, don't anybody get upset. Trying to get
right.
in the pipeline, right? So it has that national competition that goes from October until March every year. But they also have summer camps that they do. They also have a K-5 actual learning modules that you do, but the kids think they're playing video games. So that's another really good positive thing that we can do. And everyone can download that. So even if you're just a grandparent or a parent and you want to have some fun things for them to do that doesn't get them into any trouble, right? That protects them and shows them how to protect themselves. Those are easy to download from the website on MICyberPatriot.com. They also have a book series for that same age group, that K-5, getting them used to things. And then they have a cyber generations for our senior citizens. And so that's one of the ones that Mike's always talking about, for me to push and talk about, because our senior citizens are one of our, most open to the bad guys, right? Where they're trying to keep track of their grandchildren and their people, and they're out there talking to each other and having romances and all that kind of lovely stuff with our new technology, but they don't know about, since they didn't have this since birth, like some of us. They don't know how to protect themselves. And so there's a whole program put together that they can either just go on the website, the U.S. Cyber Patriot website, and go through the training, or they can be trained by people who are, a lot of our students pull it down and train them. But the really cool part was that they've actually certified that now. So if you go on the website, you can actually become a certified trainer in this senior citizen cybersecurity training. And again, it's the same kind of training that you would give to younger kids and anyone. And much of what your predecessor before me on the show did, which was telling you some of the really, easy, normal things that you should be doing as far as housekeeping and good hygiene in Cyber Patriot. And so that's why we got behind this 9 years ago, to kind of help get this kicked off in the state of Michigan and in this region, getting more people into the pipeline, more people, out there fighting the good fight, because, someday we want to retire.
Sure. So describe to me, if you could, what are the activities that some of these teams will do during the program year?
Sure. So I always try to liken it to, just got a new computer. I'm opening up the box and I'm going to bring it in and I'm going to put it on my Wi-Fi, right? And I'm going to, what do I do to keep that computer safe and my network safe at home by entering this new thing? And so you go through the normal things that you would go through to sort of make sure that you have, you have a good, strong password, and you go in and you make sure that none of the easy backdoor sort of, things are available as they might be in a brand new thing. It's also, likened to, you have a small company that you need to protect. And what would you do to do that? And so the lessons that precede the actual competition teach kids how to do that. In fact, they even get Cisco Academy training for free as well, so that they can be, Cisco Academy network gurus when they come out of their high school level. So that's, I think, a really good thing. And they get that all free. And so, the teachers have the tools because they have some lessons, but they don't have enough, right? There never is enough information. There's never enough stuff. The kids are always pushing on that innovation and going forward and poking around and learning new things. So we always got to kind of stay ahead of them. And so part of the reason that we wrote this book was to give the teachers that tool, right? Because they run out of, they don't know where to go, where to start, where to begin, what to finish, what to do. And so we wrote this book to help them get the resources that they needed in their hands by using the educational guidelines for cybersecurity, what's going to be taught in the higher levels, right? So IEEE and all the other academic associations came together and said, hey, this is what you need to be teaching in a higher level. And so what we did was break it down for the high school and middle school teachers so that they can learn how to teach those very things to these students. So these students will then have a background that they can go ahead and keep moving forward in their pathway, and they won't have to lose any time, right? Because it takes long enough for us to spit somebody out at the end, right? With a bachelor's or a master's degree. And so we want to get them boots on the ground running, right? So they can go seamlessly through that pathway.
Yeah, and today's kids live on the internet. I bike in the morning, and I was just amazed as I'm winding down the bike path that everybody has their nose buried in their phone on the bike path. And I've actually seen people riding bikes looking at their smartphones, and I go,
Yeah.
really? So, but anyway.
Put your eyes up. Don't hit me.
Yes, right. So it's also Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We mentioned that in the first segment. And then coming up, well, we're getting with this roundtable will be coming up right after you, and you feel free to stand by and join if you like. We have the Cyber Summit coming up October 18th at the Nova. I think it's still called the Expo Center. Is that correct? Or have they renamed it now?
Yeah,
Is that the Suburban Collection?
Is it Suburban Collection? Whatever. It's still the Expo Center, but you know where that is. That big building right there off Novi Road in 96.
Yeah,
anyway, so that's
100 Grand River. That's your address.
Is that what it is? Okay, thank you. Yep. So I assume you're going to be there, and I know there's like competitions going on. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the cool part about that was not too far in, a couple of years in, the governor started bringing up a cyber challenge, and that's done by merit. And that's a one-day cyber challenge. But what they've done this year, and I'm really excited about it, is they've extended the conference. And so you have the one-day conference for the professionals and then the following day, the 19th, it's an all school kind of event. And so they're busing in kids to come in and to partake in both the governor's competition and to partake in with all of the exhibitors, and to actually have their own conference and their own list of speakers and all of that for these kids. So I'm really excited that this is, again, I know you're surprised, right? That I'm excited that they're bringing in high school kids and working them, in Cyber Patriot Month, Cyber Awareness Month. It's a really important thing to get the right message out there, right? One of the things that I've done when I've been going from school to school and talking to district and stuff is finding out a lot of misinformation that's out there, right? As far as, well, you must love to code if you want to do cyber, or you must love math if you want to do cyber or be in IT. And it's like, no, there is a ton of things to be and do in this space. And so it's very nice that the governor now that the summit has now expanded this day. Instead of, it used to be sort of just a little private thing for some of the high schools to do the competition, and it really wasn't very, very interactive except for the competition piece. Now they've expanded. I'm real excited. So yeah, I have a booth. I'll have my books there. I'll have, all of the Cyber Patriot loot and stuff for these kids to get them excited. I have a magazine that we've had printed that, explains it all and has the nice framework in there. And so they can figure out what kind of job they want to have when they grow up and all that kind of good stuff. But it's got a ton of resources in it, right? So I'm real excited about that. And that added day and festivities.
And everybody we talked to, including Gary Erickson last week, who does executive search partners, said he can't find enough CISOs, and that's Chief Information Security Officers. He said everybody's looking for them. And
Yep.
and Matt can attest to coming out of LTU with those kinds of credentials. Kids are starting out at $120,000 a year. I didn't start out at $120,000 a year when I left Michigan, so
Plus there's zero employment as well too. So I mean, not only that, right? So one of the things that I'd love to be able to say, shout out to everybody out there, is I need some skin in the game. So I need folks that are in Matt's, everybody that you've talked to that have open positions, right? They have open positions. They don't know what to do. They don't, what do we do the next steps? We haven't been able to. Number one, please go to the NICE framework, workforce framework, and actually use the wordage in there when you're looking for your person, right? So that when they're putting their resume together and they tell you what their skills and abilities are, that it will match with what the HR people put together, because that's one of the main problems. I was at Secure World last week at the Suburban Group, and that was a huge C-level discussion. We had a roundtable about that very thing, is that the search words will kick people out even though they're the actual person that you need, because you're using the wrong words, right? So the whole reason for the NICE framework was put together, and it's free, was for all of us to be using the same language, the same words to describe these jobs. And so if we could start using those, that would be lovely.
Yeah, and I can tell you from the experiences here at LTU that people in cybersecurity, along with I would also say robotics engineering and computer science, you talk to these students, and by the time they're seniors, they're on their third internships and they've got 4 job offers.
Yep.
I mean, and
Yep.
there's anybody who wants a job in cybersecurity can have 2, basically. That's how it
Sure.
goes these days. And and not everybody wants to advance, frankly, and go into management. Some people just really enjoy the work of of protecting assets, and it is rewarding, it is fun, it is remunerative, it which is a fancy way of saying it pays really well and you'll make a lot of money. So
Right.
that's that
Right.
we just can't stress that enough. I wanted to talk to you for just a minute, if I could, about where the idea came from. I know you have an education background, so's your husband, right? Where the idea came from to do this book for the really little kids, and how you're suggesting that educators teach these subjects to the really little kids.
So so all of the subject matter that's going to happen later in higher education is definitely not in that book for them to teach. What we did was we broke it down, and I got to tell you that it was a labor of love, because my husband's used to doing things at a C level. So now I'm telling him, no, we need to break it down so that middle school and high school teachers can teach this stuff, what's appropriate in those levels, right? So we took real good care on using the standard, right? There's a guidelines for all of the disciplines in IT and in cybersecurity. There is an actual standard for that, right? So it's called CSEC 2017. It has also been updated in 2021, but the 2021 says CSEC 2017. So that's the actual experts, right? All over the country, all over the world came together and said, this is what should be taught. And so we broke down to the things that could be taught in those lower levels that then would be an add-on. So as they went up higher, they get taught more and more complicated things, so that they could have a nice seamless path, so that when they come out of high school, they're ready to go into college and not have to start back at the really, really basic stuff. They've already got all of that. And so that was the goal. And then the other tool we used to do that was to make it conversational. So my husband's written a lot of books on standards and a lot of things, and that's what is his gift. He is the standards whisperer. And so he can break down a really complicated govy speak, holy moly, big, huge, hundreds and hundreds of page thing, and make it very understandable. And so what he did was made it conversational. So there's a conversation between a professor who knows this stuff, who the illustrations look an awful lot like hubby. There's a middle school teacher who's been there, seen it all, has done this thing for decades. And every time she turns around, there's some new innovative thing that she's got to do in teaching, and she works real hard on it. And then they get through the end of the study, and then they say, you know what, we're not going to use this anymore. Let's go on to the next new thing. So she's a seasoned girl. She knows what she's doing inside her piece. And then there's a brand new, fresh out of school, high school teacher who knows all this stuff, has actually gone through, and got a degree in cyber, and he knows what he thinks he knows what he's going to teach, but he doesn't know exactly where to begin. And so the three of them get together and they work their way through these guidelines and make sure that they are teaching the full thing. And it's complete with exercises and a lot of resources in the back as far as where there are some free lessons, you know, that you can just pull up, the teachers can just pull up and start using for each one of those things. So we put a lot of time and effort into making it easy and making it, doing the work for them, right? So that they don't have to be a standard savant, because Lord, that's, you know, the man talks to me in numbers, right? And it's the standard numbers, you know, 21,434 and da, 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 you know, all the numbers. And I'm like, oh.
Okay. And how can folks learn more about Cyber Patriot, and how can they buy your book?
So the book's on Amazon. So teaching cybersecurity, if you put teaching cybersecurity in there and my name, Tamara Shoemaker, it comes right up, the book. And please buy one and donate it to your school. That's the whole goal, is to donate to school. My profits from that go toward buying more to give them to the schools. So it's just about getting that in their hands. MICyberPatriot is our website. And again, like I said, we really, really need mentors, right? We need people to help these teachers and show those kids a real live person in cyber, what they look like, and dispel many of the myths about this job and what this lifestyle is all about, by volunteering. And again, you can have, you know, a couple hours a month that you have available, or you can, you know, visit with these kids, you know, once a week, depending on kind of time you have. And because they are used to doing this all virtually, you can do it virtually. You don't even have to get caught in traffic to do that. And so I need mentors and I need support. We need to be able to have some support. I need to be able to buy the trophies every year. I need to be able to do the summer camps, all that kind of good stuff. And again, I just want corporations to start thinking about what Matt said. You know, if you get kids in, I mean, one of the things he talked about at Secure World was retention and getting them hired, right? So if you get kids in as an intern and you've given them back and they have come into your industry and they've learned the culture and they're there, they're going to want to continue to be there. And if you've helped them in any way with their career path and their educational path, you're going to have that buy-in that many of our, you know, the federal government knows that. They have the SFS, you know, scholarship for service, and they have the NSAA scholarships where they pay for part of their education, and then they, you know, they do internships with them, and then they end up getting, you know, jobs with them. A guaranteed job at the end of your college education is not it's a very hard thing to resist, right? So you're going to definitely build up that kind of good relationship with these students as they come out. So maybe there won't be a bidding war. Maybe you'll just have them, you know, all to yourself because you were the one who injured them.